Real 50-50.
A coin flip situation? Is that where we're at? The Blues gone from top 4 hopes to coin flipping with North Melbourne?
Hey, it's not so bad.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome to the Round 6 preview, the Good Friday Superclash against Carlton this Friday at Marvel Stadium, 3:20 p.m. kickoff. It is the third installment of our battle with the Blues on Good Friday, and this one looks to be the juiciest contest yet. Both teams sitting dead even, just about towards the bottom of the ladder. I don't think you would have predicted this going into the start of season 2025. Both sides 1-4 after round 5. Carlton just had their first win over the weekend at Gather Round against the Eagles. North, after a pretty strong opening 3 weeks of the season, have had a pretty lacklustre fortnight, big losses to Sydney and the Suns in consecutive weeks. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. I think we've got one very offensive side and one very defensive side, and I think it's just going to be whose identity on field is stronger and which one comes out on top. I don't think there's heaps that separate these sides at the moment. I do feel like the win for Carlton over the weekend probably gave them a bit of a boost of confidence, but I feel like North is starting to come under a lot of scrutiny, especially externally from the club. A lot of media pressure now is starting to mount on them. So where better than to step up and prove yourselves and on the Good Friday stage when just about all AFL eyes will be on us. This preview is going to be a little different to usual. I caught up with Terry from Blue Abroad earlier this week. It was an awesome chat. I will leave a link down below in the description of the full conversation for those who are interested, but I have taken out some of the best bits and most informative bits and pieces from that conversation, and I will insert those throughout this video, and then I will just jump in and add a bit of commentary from a North perspective where possible and where required. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Just one more quick thing before we jump into the preview. I'm filming this on Wednesday night, and today is exactly 6 months since I launched Kanga TV, and I say this all the time, but I just can't thank you guys enough for all of the support that you've shown me, and the community we have built over the past 6 months together has been absolutely phenomenal. I will never take this for granted. I feel like it's a dream every single day to have met so many of you at the games already in the past opening 5 rounds, and to have connected with so many more of you guys online across Australia and even across the world. It just blows my mind to think that, you know, I just came into this with a mindset that I wanted to give North fans more content, and I wanted people to care about North Melbourne as much as I do and as much as we do as fans. So to be able to do that, or to be part of that every single day, is an absolute honor, and it's all thanks to you guys. I couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for making Kanga TV what it is and for making this community what it is, and I hope we only go from strength to strength on and off the field for the remainder of 2025 and in seasons to come. Anyway, let's just get straight to the preview. Here's Terry and I.
I've gone from a dreamer to a realist in 4 weeks. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be comparing every other team to Carlton. But I mean, you want to get a measuring stick. And the way teams are moving the ball, there's the sleight of hand movement, everyone in traffic seems to be in sync. And then I understand that the expectation can be a burden on the playing group.
For sure. And I've kind of got this thing. I think it's really great to have other side success stories to mirror yourself off and what you can do. And as a North fan looking at like Hawthorn over the past 18 months or what Brisbane's been able to do, it's great to have that there. But I also don't really care about other sides, because it doesn't necessarily mean that because it happened for XYZ, it's going to happen for us. And on the flip side with Carlton, it's great. You comparing other sides and like you see what they do and what you're not doing, but you have to compare yourself to where you were 12 months ago. Yeah. Like that's the standard that you should be setting for yourself.
Yeah, I think we oftentimes get caught comparing roles that other players have in other teams. And one thing I'll give Vossi credit for, I mean, the whole external world is saying it's all about ball movement now, and that's the way you're going to win a flag. But he's maintained, and he got asked a question around, how are you going to improve your spread? And he sort of pushed back a little bit. We are clearly trying to play this defensive style of football. Yeah. And there's opinions coming everywhere about this is not where the game is anymore, but the reality is we're now one of only a few teams playing it. So glass half full tells me to win a flag, you've got to do something that everyone else is not doing. Glass half empty says everyone else is doing where the game is going, and you've got to go where they're going. But if we were to now chase the ball movement of Adelaide or even what I see from North at times. Like we'd be behind because we're starting from behind everyone already. So I don't know.
We have no defensive blueprint whatsoever.
Really?
Not a single defensive bone in our body, and I don't know if I could even count on one hand the amount of two-way runners we have on our side.
Really?
So from my perspective, I would kill to have 10 to 15 more % better defensive structure across the entire team. And so that's
really interesting.
That's something from the other perspective. Like we look our most dangerous when we've got ball in hand, or the North ball thing, we're moving the ball quickly by hand from one end of the ground to the other, sure. Our issue is that last kick inside forward 50, it just breaks down. And then the other issue is that when the ball does go into our forward 50, and if it does come to ground, if there is a contest, we have minimal defensive pressure. So the ball is walked really easily outside of our offensive 50, and sides just rebound it so quickly down the other end, and they just poke holes in us.
Interesting.
And we can't stop it. Like we just are so overwhelmed. We can't stop it. It leaves our defense, and our defense isn't as bad as people think. The reason why our defense looks so bad is because they get no assistance from further up the ground. So they're all left relatively exposed.
So your defenders are okay, but it's more the midfield pressure, the forward pressure?
Our defenders could be better, sure. Like we don't have a Jacob Wiedering in our side, or a Harris Andrews, or Sam Taylor. Like we don't have these kinds of players in our side. Aiden Corr's been really solid for the last 18 months, and he's been really good to start this year again. I think there's a lot of question marks around Griffin Logue and where he's sitting. He's suffered quite a few injuries. He was fine physically on Saturday, against the Suns, but quite leaky. And then Charlie Comben isn't good one-on-one, but that's not really his role. He's more of this floating, intercepting defender, and that's his strength, so we've got to play him to his strength. But these guys if they had more help from further afield, we wouldn't have this issue. So I think having a defensive blueprint, and if that's your identity and it's strong, that's great. That's something you can build on. Right now, we know where we play our best football, but North ball's not North Melbourne's on-field identity. Right. Because we don't actually see it all that much. We try different things, and we look our best when we're fast, but we are the second slowest ball movement side in the competition.
It's just not sustainable for
so
four quarters
figure.
At the moment. Yeah.
So we've got Harry Sheasel, we've got Tom Powell, we've got Jai Simpkin, we've got LDU, we've got all these guys who are really good with ball in hand, and they are just like on the front foot, and they're just getting the ball into our forward 50 as quickly as they possibly can. They're winning everything in the middle of the ground, but if Carlton were to win the clearance, are we good enough to just stop them and squash them? And then if they started to get on a roll, are we going to get overwhelmed? Do you see how this game, how we are actually just polar opposites, and how it is such a 50-50, because it's what game plan is stronger and which is going to come out on top, which is why I say I know that you think that Carlton is one of the only sides that has a defensive blueprint, say, on field. Our best football is offensive, but I just don't think it's strong enough yet because we're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. So that's what worries me the most, is are we actually going to be strong enough and confident enough to play the way we need to play, and we know we play our best footy to be able to win the 4 points.
This is the first time in a long time I go into a North game not thinking this should be a 10-goal win. Yeah. This is like, oh my God, like we could actually lose this.
I think it's a dead set 50-50. I also look at the players that you'll be missing. I'm looking at the players we expect to bring back. I look at the best football that we've put on the park. The best football we've put on the park this year challenged both Adelaide and the Suns. Right. And they're top 6 teams, both of them. The Suns haven't lost a game yet this year. Yeah. So in my mind, coming into this game, I mean, it's hard really as a North fan to go in confident, but I do think that if there was ever a time for us to win, now would be the time. We haven't won a first quarter this year.
Oh, you wouldn't want to win this week from the Carlton point of view.
But our second and third quarters have been where we've been at our absolute best, and then we had that opening 10-minute patch in the last quarter against the D's where we just ran all over them. Gotcha. But in every game, our best quarters have been the second and third quarter. So for North, if we can actually keep Carlton, if we don't come out and jump Carlton early, if we can at least keep a really tight contest for the first quarter. A lot of the reason why we haven't won first quarters though has been inaccuracy in front of goal. We were like 3-7, I think, to start the game against the Suns. It kills you because we have these patches of dominance, like it's 10, 15 minutes dominance, and we get like 1 goal on the board and maybe like 4 behind, and we work so hard for our goals, and the opposition wins the centre clearance and then has kicked a goal, literally the instant reply. It kills you every single time. So it is actually going to be one of the most fascinating games. I don't think I've been to a game like this for a really long time.
Especially between the two of us.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed those snippets from my chat with Terry. Like I said, the link to the full video on Blue Abroad is in the description. It was a great chat, and there's some really good insights from his perspective and the Carlton perspective, and then our perspective as well. This is a massive game, and I feel like a bit of a broken record because this is the 3rd week in a row I've sat here and said this is a massive game, but it's the most even game I think we've had against Carlton for quite some time. And like I said to Terry, probably a decade. And maybe I'm a little bit naive, and maybe they are better than what they've shown. They probably are better than what they've shown to start the season, but taking both sides on face value at the moment, also considering their outs and who we may expect to bring back in, I feel like we could really be on level playing field, and we have to just take advantage of that and have to make the most of that. I worry what the flow-on effects are if we sit here on Saturday and we've been pumped again. Like, I don't even think losing is an option here, let alone having a 3rd shellacking in a row. It cannot happen. We showed so much against the Dogs and so much against the D's and even so much against Adelaide. We're really starting to build trust back up again between supporters and the rest of the competition and the club, and it really felt like there was a shift. And it was a really nice build on from all of that anticipation that was built up and all the hype that was built up over the off-season and the pre-season, only to fall flat in the past couple of weeks. This kind of feels like a final chance, and I actually don't know the consequences that will follow if we can't absorb the hype and respond to it and just put on a show. You know, I always feel really nervous, and maybe it's unwarranted, but I always feel really nervous when fixture comes around each year because I feel like the AFL is looking for a reason to take Good Friday off us. Every club feels like they're mistreated, and every supporter feels like their club is mistreated by the AFL, but I really do think there's a different set of rules for North Melbourne. 10 years ago, you never would have dared to put a second game on Anzac Day or Easter Monday or Queen's birthday it was back then. But within a few seasons of Good Friday coming to be, there was already a second fixture in Adelaide or in Perth. Actually, it might have only been in Perth, but there's been, for the past 4 or 5 years, there's been a second game on Good Friday. Like, North have had multiple different opponents over the Good Friday clash since its inception in 2018. We've had the Dogs, we've had St Kilda, we've had Essendon. We've finally got it right 4th time around with Carlton. And now we just need the opportunity to build a legacy and to build it up to be something special. And I don't think that it's out of line to just ask for the respect and the space and the time to do so. I understand that our performances on field, especially on Good Friday, have been incredibly underwhelming. The first game, it was a 3-point loss. Second game, we came out, we pumped St Kilda. But ever since then, it's been like an average losing margin of 10, 11 goals. And I know that's not good enough. And I just want us to really find a way to step up and accept it and welcome the anticipation and the pressure and respond to it rather than it shutting us down. Because a lot of what we've seen on the field, particularly in the relapses in the past couple of weeks, feels like it's mental. It kind of feels like as we've only got so much to give in terms of a response and in terms of resilience and in terms of a fight back. And once we've hit that quota, it just feels like we no longer have a second or third gear to go to. The Gold Coast game on the weekend is the perfect example of that. The Suns got out to a 25-point lead halfway through the second, and we were leading that game with 5 minutes to go in the third. And all it took was 5 minutes of dominance from the Suns, and it just broke us, and we barely let out a peep in the last quarter, and they ran all over us. And that sucks because our best footy is better than that. Our best footy we've seen at Challenge almost every side we've played this year at some point during the game. Terry made a really interesting point. He said that the Blues have had really strong starts and they fade during the game, whereas I feel like our first quarters, we haven't won a first quarter this season, and it doesn't feel like we haven't dominated on field. We've had a really large portion of play go our way in every first quarter so far this year. We haven't been able to capitalize on the scoreboard, be it we break down before giving ourselves a shot on goal, or when we do take a shot on goal, we just spray it, and accuracy has really hurt us. And that's probably stunted our confidence in key patches of games where we have had the momentum, we have had the play and the ball, and we just haven't been able to capitalize. We've either broken down entering the forward 50, or we've just missed too many shots on goal. So I really hope we can find a way to rectify that this Friday and just come out with a bang and just absolutely get on a roll early and just let momentum take us where it needs to take us. In terms of the side, so I'm filming this on Wednesday night. As I mentioned, this will be up on Thursday morning. The team comes out tonight. I really hope we see George Wardlaw back into the side. He suffered a minor scare, an ankle sprain in the scratch match over the last weekend, but apparently he laughed it off and he will be ready for selection. I think he's a walk-up if he is available. I would also love to see Will Phillips in this side. I think it's become bleedingly obvious that we don't have a lot of defensive blueprint, and we don't have a strong defensive game at the moment, and I think leaving him out of the side is to our disservice. A lot of people do knock Will Phillips for maybe not contributing enough offensively, but we've got plenty of guys who are great with ball in hand, and we need someone who is able to weather the storm, who's able to apply pressure, who's able to tackle and just do the grunt work so that those around him can get their hands on the footy and make magic from it. So I really think that he needs to be in this side. I feel like it's just a missed opportunity leaving him out of the side. We have so many great offensive runners and players and silky players. We really need him in the side to be able to combat and be able to stop the opposition, especially in the middle of the ground, because we saw on the weekend the Suns got on top at the hit-outs and the clearances and they beat us at our own game and we had no answers for them. So we really need to find someone who can combat that, and Will Phillips seems like the obvious one. Unfortunately, Jackson Archer, another week on the sidelines with that hamstring injury that he sustained a couple of weeks back. So we definitely are missing him, but I also feel like Luke McDonald and maybe to a lesser extent Darcy Tucker, but I have really enjoyed Darcy Tucker's start to the season as well, have been able to cover him for the most part. I'm very curious to see what happens with Griffin Logue. A lot of fans haven't been impressed with his performances since coming back from injury. I thought he just looked proppy against the Swans, and then against the Suns he made quite a few mistakes, and maybe costly mistakes. So I'm curious to see what we do there. A lot of people have said they think Toby Pink is a better option down back. I loved what I saw from Toby Pink in place of Griffin Logue when he was on the sidelines, and I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back. I think he deserved to stay in the side on form. So it's curious to see which way they go there as well. I have said a few times, I prefer when you make minimal changes structurally. If we need to make changes, we need to make changes, but I just feel like we need to find the balance between the right players and then keeping a bit of continuity and cohesion across the best 23. I would love to see Riley Hardiman in the side. He's been the sub the past couple of weeks. He's too good to be the sub, and he is such an asset, so explosive out of defense, but also has that defensive element to him. He's a two-way runner. He's a defender naturally. So he's one that I'd love to see locked into this best 22. He actually is a really good sub and he has had an impact, but I think he's too good. So what they decide to do there, I'm not too sure. I would definitely be looking at Colby McKercher and that performance on the weekend. Maybe he needs just a couple of weeks, a bit of a rest in the VFL, potentially look to move Finn O'Sullivan higher up the ground to a wing, put Riley Hardiman in defence, and then bring Colby McKercher out of the side, either as the sub or in the VFL. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a spell to find form, refine some confidence, and then to go again in a couple of weeks' time. But what we saw on the weekend was definitely a bit costly, and there is a guy in the wings who would slot into this side perfectly and is the kind of player that we need and does have attributes of pace and burst speed. So Riley Hardiman is definitely one I would be looking at as well. I think overall I just want a response. And it's a silly comment to make maybe, but given the excitement and the buzz around LDU's re-signing last Friday and going into gather round for the first time in 3 years with what seemed like a bit more of a chance. We've played Brisbane the past couple of seasons, and we all know in 2023 they ended up being grand finalists, and last year they ended up being premiers. So they were one of the best sides in the competition for the first 2 years of gather round. So we had the Suns, while it was a much improved Suns outfit and undefeated Suns outfit at that, I definitely felt like we had an opportunity there to challenge them and win that game. And in game, it was proven to be true. So I feel like it was a very underwhelming result on the back of the potential and the promise heading into the game and the build up with LDU. And then as the game even unfolded at periods of time, we looked unreal. So I would just love to find a way for us to respond and really stamp ourselves as the owners of Good Friday, because yes, we are the owners of Good Friday. We are the ones who brought this fixture to the AFL to begin with, and we should be able to, like I said, just be given time and patience to let us build it. And it is really strong, especially from an off-field messaging point of view. We've got that spot on. We have raised so much money for the Royal Children's Hospital and for an amazing cause, but we really need to start translating that on the field because, like I said, I fear that our time is running out, and whether that's an irrational fear or not, I just think as a North supporter, I always look at North and feel like the rules are different for us. And I'm sure you guys feel it as well. So here's hoping that we can put on a massive performance in front of a sellout crowd on Friday and walk away with the 4 points. I would love to hear what you guys think going into this game and all the bits and pieces that we've touched on in this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said, in the description, I will leave a link to the full chat with Terry. We can also have a chat over on socials, Kanga TV show on Instagram, Facebook, X. You can send me an email. Hopefully see as many of you at the game as possible. And hopefully we'll be back here on Saturday talking about a famous North Melbourne victory on Good Friday. Go Roos.